a playlist original.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your host Gaius and Jackson. We finally have a news episode after taking a little bit of a break because of anniversaries and other scheduling needs. But we're happy to come back with some more news. Not like a lot of stuff going on, but enough to kind of catch up on and report.
Some trailers came out since our last news episode too to look at, so I'm kind of excited to get into those. But first and foremost, some big discussion coming out of the weekend as a very anticipated movie, I think, for both of us and a lot of people in general, has finally dropped in Longlegs. So we both got the chance to see that right around the same time, actually, on Sunday. And we haven't chatted about it yet. I know this was something that we were looking forward to getting at together, but unless you got anything else, I can't wait to chat this movie.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to do it. I mean, I also, I guess, want to start by saying kudos to Neon on a really great marketing campaign, because I think that's what really sold this movie the most. Made for less than $10 million, which I heard also included print and advertising, and there wasn't really a lot of TV advertising for this movie. This was like online groundswell, kind of marketing, which can work, I guess. I mean, I told you before we got on that I thought this was going to be something that like the social media space was hyped about and not maybe casual moviegoers, but this had to have broken out with casual moviegoers too for it to open to $22.6 million. It's the biggest opening that Neon has ever had across its 7-year history. Putting things in perspective, the movie Immaculate that came out earlier this year, another horror movie, that was their biggest opening ever, and that was a $5.3 million opening.
My god,
that's a huge gap. And I love some of the headlines because, like, Despicable Me 4 is doing really well in its second weekend. It was the number one movie this weekend, but every headline was like, the real story is how successful this movie was. And,
right.
It's the biggest opening for an original horror film this year, which is also a really good feat. It's great news for independent horror, great news for independent film, great news for Neon, and great news for whoever came up with their marketing strategy for this. I always wonder how involved like the filmmakers are with the studio when it comes to like the marketing for their movies. This seems very specific though, that maybe Oz Perkins was like maybe involved in like how to sell the movie, but who knows? I mean, in any event, it worked. Those trailers got us sick. That's why we really wanted to see it. And we were happy that the trailer showed us very little every time there was a new one. There wasn't too much wasn't given away. We didn't even get a real glimpse of what Nicolas Cage would look like in the movie from any of those trailers, really. And now we both finally have seen it, and I thoroughly like. I mean, what I will say is, I think for those who do choose to see it who haven't seen it yet, it's probably best to separate yourself from the hype, because I think that is hurting.
Yes, well said. Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah, I think that's hurting the experience for some people that are choosing to see it, because I saw that a lot throughout the week. They're like, well, is this really the scariest movie like ever made, or is this really the scariest movie that you've seen in the last few years? Like, how many scary movies have you actually seen? And that kind of like discourse was starting. But I think scary can mean different things to different people. Absolutely. I wasn't particularly like scared of while watching the movie, but what I did kind of get, and like my brother also got it too because he saw it with me, is this overwhelming feeling of like dread and unease that I felt throughout the whole thing. And I honestly felt when it was over too. That kind of stuck with me a bit. And that is a testament of the like, the atmosphere and tension that Oz Perkins builds throughout the whole movie. Like I was in so many scenes, there's so many open space and dead space where there's just shots of windows and open door frames, and it's just like, should I be seeing something in the background? Should there be something there? Like you're it's kind of like an attack of the senses in a really different way. That, like, I know I said the same thing about In a Violent Nature, but like this is like that too. But you're just like, it's like you're looking for things to maybe like pop out, or for someone to be standing in the background. And certain shots that was the case where I was like, oh
yes, you get rewarded for looking. And sometimes there's just enough that it's not in every scene, but when you do find yourself looking in the dark corners or in the exposed backgrounds, just enough times you are treated to a little bit something if you have a keen eye, which I thought really helped this movie. It doesn't assault you with jump scares. I mean, depending on your scare level, there might be a couple to expect, but doesn't assault you with jump scares, but is still, like you said, is able to maintain this sense of dread throughout, I'd say, the whole hour 40 runtime, which fans, people who have seen Oz Perkins' prior 3 movies, I would say it fits right in line with that, the tone, atmosphere, and how he's able to maintain that dreadful sense. Felt very in line with his filmography. I'm not sure. I think I can't remember if I'd asked you before if you'd seen any of his previous works. I've seen 2.
So I sadly have not seen any of his movies other than this. And my friend sent me. I know I'm watching one tonight. My friend sent me his film. Which one is it? The Black Coat's Daughter. So I'm gonna watch that first. I'm gonna watch that tonight. And
nice.
But I mean, if there's any other, I mean, I'm sure I should watch all of them. But that was the one that he had, and he really enjoyed it. So he told me I should check it out. He was surprised I hadn't seen any of his movies yet, though.
I'd only seen, so I started with the Black Coat's Daughter. I watched, my buddy Cam and I tried to watch as many of his movies as possible in anticipation for Longlegs. We started with Black Coat's Daughter, which it was one of those movies where I liked more after I sat on it a little bit and thought about it, and I'm really wanting to revisit it. Can't wait to see what you think of it. And then in 2020, he came out with Gretel and Hansel, which we just recently saw. Very different. I'd say Longlegs is very evocative of Black Coat's Daughter. So I've yet to see I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, but I'm looking to do that next because I am fully in love with this director. I think he, especially after Longlegs, this will be the one that puts him on the map more for mainstream audiences. I think that he's carved out a great section of the horror genre as a newcomer. Obviously, the Nepo baby in him, I think, is a big thing that'll help his career too, being Anthony Perkins' son. But he's earned that. He's not, I don't think he's been given this clout just on that alone. He's really earned it in his movies. I'm sure you'll feel the same. He is a dreadful director in the best sort of way. And Longlegs just cements that.
Yeah. I oddly enough, I only really knew him for playing Dorky David in Legally Blonde. I mean, he was an actor, I guess, for a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know that about him.
And he's in Another Teen Movie and a few other movies. So I think it helps that he transitioned into being like a filmmaker. So maybe the Nepo baby thing won't hurt be attached to him too much. And then Anthony Perkins passed away so long ago that maybe it won't. True. But the name is still synonymous with old Hollywood and Psycho in particular.
Yep.
So I think the whole time I was watching this movie, which is why I was like, I need to find his other stuff, and I can't believe I hadn't watched any of his other stuff and felt silly after watching this that I never even sought it out. But I don't know. There were moments. Is it Maika Monroe? Is that how you say her first name?
I believe so. That's how I heard it. Yeah.
There are moments every time she was on screen, especially it's one in particular where she's at the house and she's just going over stuff for the case, and that's what I was watching. Of course, it's dark and so many shots. Like I said, there's so much open space behind her, or something like that. I always felt like she was in constant danger in certain shots. I was like, something's there. And then there sometimes there'd be nothing. I'm like, oh, okay. But that whole all right, I'm waiting for it. And I wouldn't even call it a tease. I think it was just a good way to frame those shots to kind of constantly have you on your on the edge, basically. And I thought that was a really I haven't really had a lot of movies do that. I mean, of course, there's stuff like Halloween and The Strangers and stuff like that where there are shots like that, but they're not really present throughout most of the movie. I mean, there's certain scenes where they are, but there was a lot of the movie where that was just the case, where I was like, there has to be a reason that kind of dead air is there. You know what I mean? So
right.
Pay attention to that. And
the atmosphere feels like a character.
Yeah. And, I had one buddy that saw it over the weekend. He liked it, but he felt like the bleakness of it made it so hard to get into, almost he was everything about it just seemed so depressing. She seemed depressing. There was nothing but I guess that was the character though. There's reasons for her for being the way she is. I read one review that didn't like the movie today. Actually gave it a 1.5 stars out of 4, and was unimpressed with their performance. But I was I think that was just how that character was written to be.
Oh, absolutely.
To be closed off and the way that she was. And of course, once you find out as the movie progresses and there are a lot of hints of what has affected her, like coming, into life as an
Yes.
adult. It makes a lot of sense that she
puts her
is the
whole
way she is.
performance in perspective as the movie goes onward. And if you've seen Maika Monroe and other works like The Guest or It Follows, even some of the stuff, like not even her roles, but like her character in videos and promotions that I've seen since, because I haven't seen a performance of hers in years. This character of Lee Harker in Longlegs is so unlike anything I've seen her even attempt before. If I wouldn't have known her before this, I would have thought that she was just kind of like this naturally, but she's such a bubbly, hip kind of person that she comes across, and she's absolutely opposite end of the spectrum in Longlegs. So kudos. I think her performance is great, and I agree with you. I think it was written that way. A lot of Oz Perkins characters and protagonists are women of few words, sort of like her character is in this movie. And I'm sure you'll agree once you familiarize yourself with his filmography that this is just kind of his style. It's completely, he's kind of made himself one of those directors where if you were to flip on one of his movies without knowing, you'd be like, this is an Oz Perkins movie. And it feels very much like that. So I think whoever maybe has seen this, if this is their first entry into Oz Perkins filmography, if they see more and then revisit Longlegs, I feel like that opinion may change if you get more familiar with what he's like as a director. Because I honestly, and I've heard the comparisons, I'm not the first to say it, but I do feel that he's almost like a counterpart to Robert Eggers and his feel to his movies, like his dedication to atmosphere in particular. Feels very in line with Robert Eggers, who we also have a movie to look forward to this year.
Yeah. At the end of the year. I also thought it was like a really mature performance for her too. I mean, the stuff that you mentioned that she's been in, like, you're right. There's like a certain she has a lot more energy in like a lot of those movies, right? And I don't want anyone to think that the perceived lack of energy here is a detriment. Like once you watch the movie and see the as it builds to its climax and resolution, it's completely necessary for her to play the part that way, the way that she plays it, and why she is so closed off from the world a bit. And I thought it felt very like. I'm not saying that it felt very like an adult, mature performance from her. And I really enjoyed that for her. And I feel like she's been such a niche actress for a lot of us who like loved her in a lot of these movies. But I think this will kind of maybe push her into the mainstream a bit more, where other people will start to notice her and pay it. Because I think her biggest movie is Independence Day Resurgence. She's in that.
I did not know that.
And it's like a co-starring role. It flops and it didn't do. I mean, it didn't like die, but it wasn't like well received that much. So she's mostly known for doing a lot of genre movies. Like I think she's earned the mantle of like what they either Final Girl or Scream Queen, whatever you want to call her. I mean, like you said, It Follows. The Guest isn't so much a horror movie, but it is like a genre movie,
right?
Too. The Watcher is another good one that she was in like a couple of years ago. Like she loves this genre, and you can tell. And I respect that about her. And I also like just watching her in the things that she's done over the last few years. You can see the growth, and that's why I really enjoyed about her performance here as well.
How about Nicolas Cage? I want to talk about him a little bit because he was, I told you off camera, and I love this guy to death, seen so many of his movies, but like this may have been a new like career high in terms of like how I think about his performances. I could not get enough of him in this movie. I thought he was incredible. His look, I think they held off just long enough. We got to see just the right amount of him, even before the earlier scenes before his character is really revealed in full was like incredible. Like really hooked me in from the start. That opening sequence was, I thought, incredible. Had our whole audience like really hooked. I think from the beginning there was some gasps, and it was short too, which I liked, but I don't want to give too much more about it. But bottom line, his performance blew me away. It was just as good as I feel that everybody had said it was who had seen the movie earlier. What did you think about him?
Well, absolutely smart to hide him in all the marketing. I thought that was a brilliant move, because I think if you would have revealed that would have taken a lot of the mystery out of what the movie was trying to sell. Because a lot of the marketing trailers, and if you looked up anything about the movie, once you saw that his name was attached to it, you're like, who's he playing? Or I'm assuming he's playing the serial killer in it, but you don't know really what the deal is going to be or what the gist is going to be. I thought he was really good. I mean, there's like different kinds of Nicolas Cage performances now, and I mean, I think people forget that he's an Academy Award winner. He is a good actor. I mean,
fantastic actor.
I mean, like what he won for, like Leaving Las Vegas, is like one of his best performances ever, and
and I haven't seen that one, so I gotta say, yeah,
and he's incredible in it. And he's been incredible in other movies, but I think there's also like the eccentric like Nicolas Cage that some people were questioning, like, is that guy a good actor, or is he just kind of like professionally like chewing scenery, I guess.
I love and live for Cage Rage, man. I will every once in a while I'll just look up like a montage on YouTube of like all of Nicolas Cage's like freakouts from his movies.
Yeah.
And luckily I think that montage will have a new addition from this movie, maybe two, which in the best kind of way actually had me audibly laughing at him like in the movie. And without getting in any way, it's like he has a scene where he's in a car and just going full Nick Cage. I really feel like Oz Perkins said, okay, we're going to write a scene for him to do his thing. And it was the best. I lived for it. And me and my buddies who like love Nick Cage that were there to watch half for him couldn't get enough, thought it was hilarious, but in a creepy sort of way, not to take you out of his performance, but you're like, this is Nick Cage being himself for a moment. Yeah. And it was the best. But I can't get over his look. Like, someone made a point online that it was kind of just food for thought. Like, how much creepier would the character have been if it was an unknown actor who had played the role as well as he did? I thought that would have been a great actual like introduction to an actor in that role for some of that. I think it almost would have been kind of creepier if this was an unknown, but I don't think anybody would have played that character as eccentric and odd and creepy like Nick Cage did. So I'm happy that it was him. I thought that was an interesting point to consider, though.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I think it was fine either way because he's so unrecognizable in it that
true. You're not really thinking it's him.
Like, and I kept thinking like there were certain like inflections in the voice where I was like, all right, I can tell that's him.
Right.
But the look of him, he looks completely unrecognizable. Yeah. And I will say too, I thought that opening scene too was genuinely creepy, just to kind of reveal like basically this, and then the voice. And the voice was really creepy too. Like, I kept wondering, like, oh, what's he gonna sound like? Because I was reading a few reviews of the movie, and they were trying to describe even the sound of his voice, and they had a hard time like really putting that into words for a review. So I was like, okay, I wonder what it's gonna be like. So that could have easily broken the whole film, right? It either been like too over the top, and you're like, all right, this is silly, this doesn't work. All right, it works just right and just enough, and I think it worked just right and just enough. And he's also not in it a ton.
Not a ton. I think like I said, just the right amount.
I mean, she is clearly she's the star of the movie, and but in the scenes that he is in, he steals every single moment.
Yes.
And I was impressed. I liked it. I didn't think it wasn't like it's so bad it's good or it's cheesy. Like there were moments where I was like genuinely creeped out by him.
Absolutely, me too. In ways I wouldn't have expected.
Like, even the scene of you referencing the one with him in the car, I was like, even though I was like kind of like I laughed a little bit, but it was like this almost like nervous kind of laughter.
Yeah,
still, like so creepy as hell. And then like when he I forgot where that girl was working. Is that like it's like a bookstore? Where was it at where he went to go and he did that
like a spare parts store sort of thing? Yeah,
and I guess that girl is Oz Perkins' daughter too, which is
neat. I did not know that.
Kind of makes it funnier that she calls for her and says that tells her dad like that creepy guy is back. But even in that thing, I was like, dude, if I was working somewhere and someone walked in like that, like I would be very uneasy with them being there. So like,
I would be putting that close sign up and flipping that and leaving. That's for sure.
So I think what people might have to get away from too is there's been a lot of comparisons to like Silence of the Lambs and like with this movie and all that.
Yes.
And then with that comparison comes like and then with that comparison comes like the Hannibal Lecter comparison or the Buffalo Bill comparison.
Right.
I don't think this role or character reaches that status. Because I mean, I guess Hannibal Lecter's not on screen a long time in Silence of the Lambs either, but I don't know. Maybe it needs a little bit more time for it to get there. I don't think it's quite there.
I don't think it's even trying to emulate. Actually, I did see some comparison shots between the two movies, and it was like pretty cool to see them. But I think its comparisons to Silence of the Lambs end after it being an FBI procedural serial killer thriller. Beyond that, with female protagonists, you can add that in eccentric antagonists. Like, yeah, there's definitely foundational similarities to the structure of both movies, but Longlegs, especially towards like the second half of the movie, very much branches off to of your traditional detective thriller in ways I don't want to get into for people that are planning to still see it. I get those comparisons. I don't think that they were, I even thought myself there, and I went in hearing of these things and expecting sort of to be comparing them, but I didn't think that it was as strong a comparison by the end of the movie as I anticipated it being, if you will. I think it is a cool blend between Zodiac and Silence of the Lambs, and I would kind of recommend this movie to people that are fans of those movies, but with definitely a sprinkle of something else on top.
Yeah, and I think and I think that's what another thing that people. It's not a horror film. This is more of like a. There's a lot of elements of the movie, though. I mean, it's
you don't consider it a horror film.
Well, I mean, it feels more in vain to like Zodiac or Silence of the Lambs, but I guess people would describe more as like thrillers than like horror movies.
I suppose.
But I guess this movie also it has the serial killer angle to it. There's this like almost like supernatural thing going on too.
That's why I think it strays into horror. Yeah, horror adjacent.
And then you throw in like the religious stuff, which I mean, some people have been actually debating about a lot online. Which is why some people that was another reason people think that it got a C+ cinema score from opening day audiences, which I think is a mix of younger people being like, well, that's not as scary as you guys said it was. Some other people think it's the religion stuff, and they feel the movie is like, some people think the movie is anti-religious, which might be that cause another like line of debate. I don't really think that's the case. There's also other stuff people are pointing out about Nicolas Cage's character that they thought that the character might have been like more queer and all that stuff too. They're throwing that stuff out there too. That's not something I really looked at or saw in the movie at whatsoever. So I think a lot of people will bring up their own interpretations of what they're seeing, especially when it's a movie that is kind of ripe for debate. But no, I just kind of think he just played a sick serial killer, and that's about it. I don't think there is much more, and there isn't enough there to really go into the psyche of what that character is. Really,
I would have actually liked more of that in the movie, to tell you the truth. There were things that I did think were missing, but overall, I got enough that I thoroughly loved it. But that and maybe some more like shocking imagery, I think I was kind of expecting, especially considering, again, kind of bringing it back to Blackcoat's daughter. There's a little bit more in that movie than there is in this. That I think, not that this was devoid of those things. It definitely had its fair share. But I'm interested for you to see. There's actually, it has a lot more in common with Blackcoat's daughter than I really even expected going in, which is why I think they're going to make great companion pieces to each other going forward. But I agree. Like, I think it's one of those movies where I can understand maybe people's criticisms. None of what I've heard though made me think that would reflect poorly on the actual merit or score of the movie. I thought it was like borderline flawless for the most part. Not flawless, but like pretty darn close. Yeah.
How did you feel about like the kind of perceived like supernatural elements, which I didn't think were, that surprised me while I was watching it. I didn't get any indication of that from any of the trailers that we saw. I thought it was going to be like a straight kind of like serial killer, thriller horror movie. You think those were introduced well and then it works for the movie, or how did you feel about some of that stuff?
Introduced well, for sure. I guess I wasn't really caught off guard by it because all I'd really known going in, because unfortunately I did hear things before my viewing yesterday, was that it took a right turn in the third act, kind of became something different than how it was presented in the, again, admittedly very limited, non-revealing trailers. And having seen two of his earlier works, both of which are very supernatural heavy, I think subconsciously just expected it to go that route. So I was pleasantly not turned off by that. I almost want to say I expected it. And I very much sort of gravitate towards, I really find supernatural. Like, that is like horror to me. That is what I really look for in a horror film. And I think this blended like the crime procedural with supernatural very well in a way that I don't really think I've seen before. Nothing comes to mind when I'm thinking of something like a movie that kind of encapsulates both those. Usually you get your Silence of the Lambs or your Zodiacs that are detective procedurals, or you get like a supernatural horror movie. There's probably examples out there, but none that come to mind that blend them and so seamlessly like Longlegs did. So it was kind of like a best of both worlds, if you ask me. And I really love the supernatural angle and the religious aspect and how that ties into the supernatural stuff. I thought was super creepy and real worldly. So I mean, I was I guess I'll inevitably describe myself as biased with this movie because of how much I liked it, and I'm planning on seeing it again on Thursday if I can get my girlfriend on board. She's not much of a horror fan, but I do want to go see it again.
It's a thriller. It's a thriller. It's not a horror movie.
Exactly. And she likes like detective stuff, so
yeah,
we'll see. And I'd go alone if I had to, but I'm really looking forward to it. I was going to ask you if you were planning on seeing it again, or if once in theaters was enough. Yeah.
No, I do want to see it again. Because I have a friend that really wants to see it, so I'm going to go see it with him later this week. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's things that I liked about it. Just finding out later. I mean, I love that she said she didn't really even see Nicolas Cage until midway through the shoot. So like the first time she saw
his last day on set, I guess.
Yeah, and the first time she saw him, that like her guttural reaction to him was very genuine and real. So I thought that was really cool. And I like to. She made a comment that I guess over the weekend that some people are dissecting, I think, a little bit too much because she's been a big part of the horror genre now for a bit, and they asked her about the character she's played and why she's gravitated towards horror movies, and she said the horror genre has come such a long way, even just in the past 10 years. To me, horror has been some of the most interesting roles that I read, most interesting scripts. It's just not this sort of typical one-note character, whether it's the tough girl or this or that. It's much more complicated, and there's such beauty in that. I love roles like that. Well, some people were saying that, like, even if you go back to older horror movies, there are roles like that. You have your Laurie Strodes and your stuff like that, and Nancy Thompson's and Nightmare on Elm Street. But I don't think she's saying that those didn't exist then, but they were very few and far between in the last, like she said, 10 years. There aren't like a ton of strong characters like this in horror movies, as much as they should be, I guess.
And as nuanced, for sure. Like, she's right. Her character doesn't fit into one or two categories. She's very much a culmination of a lot of different subtypes instead of, like you said, just your strong heroic female lead. She's a lot more than that and a lot less than that in ways too. So I thought it was a very nuanced character, and she slid back into that horror genre, I think, like an old glove. It was great to see her in this kind of role and doing something, even though she'd been acting in horror long before. This was, again, like I said earlier, just so much different than the kinds of roles that she's taken on before. I think her almost as much as Nick Cage was the star of the show. But if anything, I would put it down to the cinematography of this movie. It looks absolutely awesome.
For a movie that costs like less than $10 million to make, it doesn't look cheap whatsoever.
Half of which apparently went to Nick Cage's salary. So they really were playing with $5 million.
So good on that. And it looks great. I mean, now, like I said, now that I've seen this, I'm going to jump into like every movie that Oz Perkins has made now, because
it'll be a short journey. He's only got 3.
I know. So like, I want to see how they like hold up with this, and and see what the growth was like, I guess, from what he did first up to this movie. I also kudos to Blair Underwood, who plays Agent Carter, which that could have been a very thankless role, and he does a pretty good job.
Glad you mentioned that. He was awesome in that movie.
He was very good. And Alicia Witt, who played Ruth Harker, Lee's mother. Alicia Witt, also a kind of horror genre person. Like, she was an Urban Legend. She was the lead in Urban Legend. She was also on The Walking Dead for a bit as well. And apparently she found the experience of doing this so horrifying that she hasn't even watched the movie. So there's Lord. That. Okay. But she said a lot of great things about Oz Perkins as a filmmaker and a visionary. And a lot of people are very much, rightfully so, singling her out for her performance in this, because she is quite good and quite scary in her own right. I won't give away too much because that's there's a lot there, but she is quite good.
She's in the Exorcist TV series that you love as well. I'm just
she was. She was. Forgot to mention that. Yeah, so she's been acting since she was a kid. Like, she's been in the game for a long time. So.
David Lynch's Dune, I see too. I did not recognize her from anything that you mentioned. That's pretty cool. Even Urban Legend as Natalie.
Natalie. Yeah.
Okay. So, she was a great part of this movie.
Yeah, limited role, but very good. Did a lot. But yeah, movie got our seal of approval. We rarely get to see new movies around the same time and talk about them on the show. So this was we kind of knew that we were both going to see it this week. So glad that we could talk about it a little bit.
Yes, agreed.
We're both anticipating.
Stay tuned for those Letterboxd reviews. I'm sure we'll both have lots more to say in type form.
Yeah. I kind of put like a short one up, but I'm going to expand on it.
Nice.
Probably tonight.
Yeah. Now I've stewed on it. I think I'll have mine up there tomorrow. But great segue. I think we spent enough time on it. We did, like I mentioned earlier, we got lots of trailers to break down. Starting first, I guess, with the Gladiator II trailer, we finally got our first real look at that movie, and it's kind of been a divisive first look at the movie. Yeah. I don't know if anything's changed, but it actually got ratioed, which I thought was crazy. Yeah. It's got more dislikes than likes. And I know we haven't chatted about this movie. I think this, if I'm thinking correctly, I thought this was on my most anticipated movies of the year when we broke that down back in January. But we haven't had the chance to discuss our thoughts on this trailer until now. So I'll let you begin and see what I just rewatched it before we recorded. I watched it the day
I did
it dropped.
too, actually, because I hadn't watched it since last. I didn't watch it since last week, so I did watch it again before we started.
Mm-hmm.
I think it certainly looks like good. It looks fun, and I kind of like when I watched it again. I kind of got this kind of like bombastic, like, oh, this like, I mean, it looks like it'll be an entertaining time. What I tried to get from this trailer was, I wonder if it will have the same sort of like award season Oscar glory buzz that Gladiator had back in the day,
right?
And just judging from the trailer, it looks more entertaining popcorn movie than Gladiator did,
right?
But that can definitely change. I mean, like, the closer it gets to coming out and the more we see from it, and there's so much talent involved, I can't imagine that it wouldn't.
Maybe, exactly.
Get some notices on that end. I don't know. I thought it looked really entertaining. I mean, Paul Mescal is cool. Paul Mescal looks cool. Pedro Pascal also seems cool. Joseph Quinn seems like pretty unrecognizable in the trailer too. He was in just in A Quiet Place Day 1. He's going to be in Fantastic Four.
Is he one of the emperors, like in the pale makeup? I didn't know. I didn't know who that actor was.
So like that, he looks like he'll be a good time and all that. I mean, Denzel Washington, I can't say anything bad about. I know they're like one of the criticisms of the trailer though is I saw it a lot. They were like, and some people actually said this as like a boss move. They're like, dude, Denzel Washington was like, I don't care what time period this movie takes place in, I'm just gonna sound like Alonzo from Training Day. I don't care. I don't care. I didn't really think of it as a detriment, but other people did actually kind of point out, like, okay, well, is he going to be the only one that won't like talk like this? Like, whatever. There was also some complaints about using like the hip hop song towards the end of the trailer. It's a Kanye West, Jay-Z.
Yes, No Church in the Wild.
Yeah, there's.
What were your thoughts on how that fit into the trailer?
Well, I don't see
it's all buzz right now.
I don't understand why it's a bad thing, unless it's because they're trying to say like, oh, it's a period piece, and that they shouldn't use that song to promote the movie. But like, I don't know. It was a cool way to mix it into like, I don't know. I love when trailers do that with songs like that, so I didn't really think it was a problem.
No.
Did you think it was a problem?
I don't know if problem is the right way to word it. I did notice, and it was like on my own time before I'd seen any reactions to the trailer. Like when that song started playing, it did like remove me from the period aspect of the trailer. I did think it didn't fit well. I don't know if I think that like that's a reflection on the movie. It's completely unrelated to the movie. Ridley Scott isn't deciding the trailer song to use in the marketing for the movie. So I'm separating that, but I gotta admit, like, I didn't love the use of I really feel like put it in there because it mentions Coliseum.
No,
in the word, like, and they're thinking, oh, this is kind of cool, but and like, I don't know. I didn't love it. The trailer itself, though, like beyond the song, it's very minute detail of it. I really wanted to love it, and I'm still hyped for this movie, but I did not love the trailer. I liked parts of it. I think it suffers from length. It's a 3-minute and 9-second trailer or something like that. Yeah. Not the movie's fault. I'm still very hyped for the movie, but showed too much. We are pretty much seeing where certain characters are heading in terms of their relations with each other that I think would have been better to see for ourselves in the movie. It's no secret, those who have seen the trailer, if you haven't, maybe skip this part. we're seeing Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal duking it out near the end of the trailer, where there's nothing before that to really suggest that they'd be on a collision course. Apparently, they're both playing sort of protagonists, like good guy characters. So maybe there's nothing really contextually that suggests why they might be battling it out, but we know where that's headed.
Yeah.
A great moment in the trailer is the rhino sequence, but we see how that's going to end. Like, it pretty much showed us the bread and butter of that scene, which kind of annoyed me. The trick with the dust could have ended there. I thought it was really, really cool. And like the blood-soaked rhino charging at the gladiators looks great moment for the trailer, but we see almost the full part of it. So like that, where's the tension going to be in that scene when we see it in the movie? And I don't know, it could be all misleading. We know how trailers work, but that's just a gripe I had, is that it showed a little bit too much. And it was very action heavy, which was great. I'm sure there's more to come. The set pieces look great. The effects look great. I'm really excited for all the characters. Denzel, I'm probably most looking forward to see what he has to do in this movie. Again, though, he lays out all his cards in the trailer when
that's all
I would have loved his character to be more of a mystery or ambiguous as to what his goals are, but he explicitly says in the trailer. So that kind of pissed me off. And what else? I think there was one other thing, but all in all, like, I'm very hyped for this movie. Oh, I was going to compare it to Napoleon. I unfortunately, Ridley's filmography as of late has not been very kind to him, although I really love The Last Duel and House of Gucci from 2021. Napoleon from last year was a letdown for me, and it's also a historical epic. I think this, like Gladiator II, I don't know if it's going to work for or against it that it's a legacy sequel. I really don't know. I love Gladiator. It's one of my favorites. Love revisiting that movie. I wouldn't have campaigned for a sequel to that movie necessarily. I think at the time to make this sequel was over a decade ago, probably. You agree? Yeah. So I'm not really sure how I think this will impact viewership, or I feel like, maybe it might invite more criticism. People are going to be comparing the legacy of this movie to the first one. And so I guess after this trailer, if anything, I'm now more up in the air for how I think it's going to go, which isn't what I wanted to be able to say about it. But the trailer is not the movie. I'm excited for the movie, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, the Hollywood Reporter, they wrote a piece on it. I mean, it got 215 million global views.
Oh my God.
Within its first 24 hours, which is incredible, which kind of indicates that this could be a big hit when it comes out.
Okay, that's good.
Now, it's funny because I think we across talking, they wrote an article about the 3 biggest criticisms of the trailer, and I think all of them were mentioned in this discussion.
Okay.
One, clocking in at over 3 minutes, it's being criticized for seemingly giving away too much.
Okay, there we go.
That was one. The second reason, and they say this by far the most cited reason, is the trailer uses Kanye West and Jay-Z's No Search in the Wild. Some are asking why have rap music in a movie about the Roman Empire. Immediately, part of the original Gladiator's appeal was that it was unabashedly classical, a throwback to Sandal and Toga epics like Her and Spartacus. You also had a beloved soundtrack by Hans Zimmer as well. But they said that, they point out that also No Church in the Wild includes the lyric bloodstains in the Colosseum doors, as you said. So there's that.
But, I swear I did not read this article before.
I know. I was trying. I pulled it up. And then the third reason, which might be the most controversial, because, it's like I said, I can't say anything bad about Denzel Washington, but it says the third reason for the backlash, some are griping about Washington's role in the film, saying that the actor looks like he's having an absolute blast, but some complain that Washington still has his New York accent. Of course, Washington's voice is so iconic, it might be weird if he suddenly adopted a British accent. Also, British accents don't make any sense of ancient Rome either. They're just traditionally been used in Hollywood films about the period and tend to feel right when using those movies. Of the 3, I mean, the one I probably wouldn't put more. I don't really care about the song either. I get why you don't want it, like why it was a gripe for you, but the Denzel stuff, I don't know. I can't really let the man cook.
I agree. It's Denzel. I think we're just lucky to have him working with Ridley Scott in this movie. I could give a shit what he sounds like, and I agree. A British accent would be just as out of place historically as a New York accent. I'm fine to hear his regular voice. Although, I don't know if you saw his Macbeth role. I think he can adopt a classical historical accent quite well. I think if he wanted to. I'm curious about Ridley's decision in not having him adopt some different sort of accent, but I didn't even cross my mind actually while watching the trailer, even watching it before this discussion. So that's interesting that was so cited as a controversy.
Yeah,
just to clarify, I wouldn't constitute the inclusion of No Church in the Wild as a controversy or something that I think drags down the trailer. I would summarize it as a missed opportunity to include some great moments of the score. Yeah, I think that just would have been the cherry on top, or would have helped this trailer more.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it all turns out when it opens on November 22nd. The next trailer is the only reason I'm even showcasing it because the two actors in it I like. And then I kind of when I was posting the trailer for the website and on G-Rolls, I didn't watch it right away. I watched it like maybe 30 minutes later because so many people were posting on their stories like, I can't wait for this movie to rip my soul out. And I was like, wait, is this supposed to be like something really sad? And then I watched the trailer for We Live in Time, and it's not a movie I would necessarily gravitate towards, but I do get the sense that this is going to be very sad. And I'm not opposed to sad movies. Like we talk about The Notebook. A Walk to Remember is another one for me where I can just like watch that and silently cry in my room. Or something like Past Lives is also another sad one.
God, yes.
That gutted me too.
I was thinking about Past Lives during watching this trailer because I actually hadn't even heard of this movie. Didn't see the trailer when it dropped until you put it on our agenda here to cover. I didn't know it was in production. Couldn't have told you a thing about it. I would have guessed by reading the title. I was like, I would never even give this movie the time of day, which I feel guilty about saying. But I gotta say, and I don't know how publicly I've made this in previous discussions, I'm a sucker for a great romance story, not a rom-com, not my avenue, but a good romance story like Past Lives, The Notebook, two that you've mentioned, some of my favorite movies, ones I'll go back to. There's just something like tugging on the heartstrings. It's such a powerful emotion, and that's what I love about watching movies. And ones that do it right like this, like relationship movies, tragic ones, have always been something I've really liked. And I was actually quite impressed with this trailer. Really didn't think much of going in, and then by the time it was all done, I was like, I would watch this. I really liked. I think the two stars, Florence Pugh, Andrew Garfield, look like they're having a great time. I didn't know Andrew Garfield. Is he British?
Yeah, he is. Yes, I didn't know that. It took me a while to find that out too because I didn't see. I think the first movie he was in was something called Never Let Me Go or something before The Social Network, and it might not have been his first movie, but that was like one of the major ones he did before Social Network. So when I saw Social Network, I was like, oh, that's how the guy sounds.
Right. Yeah.
and then he did interviews. I was like, oh, nope, he is very British. So he adapts American accent pretty well.
Yes, I would say so.
And you got two. I mean, he's a little bit older than her. I think he's 41 now.
Oh, wow, he's youthful looking for 41.
Yeah. And I think Florence Pugh, I don't actually know how old she is.
She's still in her 20s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, she was born in 1996. So yeah, she's.
Oh my God, she's 2 years older than me.
Yeah, so she, but she has the maturity about her that them being paired in the movie, I buy it. Like he looks youthful, and she also seems gives mature. Like this kind of like wise beyond her years kind of thing, which is why I think she is probably one of the better
hell of an actress too.
Actress of her generation. I knew they were going to be in the movie together. That's all I knew, and I was like, oh well, that sounds nice because they're two really good actors. But when I finally watched the trailer, I was kind of like you. I was like, I can be all in. On this, and it does look like it's gonna like rip your heart out. I do think it's funny that you say you don't like rom-coms. Like you don't like your romance funny. You like it, rip my heart out.
Tragic, realistic, humanistic. Yeah, that's how I like it.
You're like love is
not the
funny.
Running through the airport at the last minute, catching the taxi, getting there in the last second, and like jokes in between. Like not my style of romance.
That's why you don't like love. That's why you don't like Love Actually. That's like that.
Exactly. I actually hated Love Actually.
That's in that movie's DNA. You're running through the airport.
Yes, exactly. Yep. But this is much more up my alley. I love a good cry, so I would definitely expect that from this movie.
I think this, and I know they're different types of movies, but I thought this played better than and I like Blake Lively, but I thought this trailer played better than that Blake Lively one that's coming out. It ends with us soon.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like I could have, like with something like We Live in Time, I would have to be like, all right, sell me on what this is, so I want to see it. Mm-hmm. And this did, and I'm not quite there with the other one. But I also see them appealing to like the same fan base, a bit.
Yes.
I don't know. I thought it looked really good, and I guess it's going to have its premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, so that does bode well for its potential.
Okay.
And then it's supposed to open on October 11th. So, So we're kind of like we're both game on that. I think I was more for the Gladiator 2 trailer than you were.
Seems like it, yeah.
I think we might be on the same page about this last one.
Agreed.
Oh,
the next one you're gonna intro. Yeah. Take it away.
Yeah. So Blumhouse, the studio that gave you Night Swim this year and Imaginary, they're giving us another. You know what? And I'm not saying this could be it could be good. The idea of it, it is appealing.
Conceptually, I think this works really well. Very timely.
But I have a feeling this is going to be one of those horror movies that they kind of throw out there. The review embargo won't be up until a day before it opens because they know it's awful. And that's the vibe I'm getting from Afraid, which is a upcoming science fiction horror film from Blumhouse, starring John Cho and Catherine Waterston, who are good actors. I mean, I'm happy for that at least. But the film follows a family whose smart home device increasingly interjects itself into their lives. As you know, terror ensues. I agree with you. Conceptually, it's a really good idea. I actually think that it could be everyone's always afraid about that kind of technology, becoming really self-aware and dangerous.
Yes.
And so I, even though that conceit is a little bit on the nose here, our technology is going to turn against us and kill us. There could be a good idea for a horror movie there. I just don't trust it to be executed really well by
Blumhouse.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that Chris White's wrote and directed this. He was involved with American Pie, About a Boy, which are solid movies in their own right. He has been nominated for an Academy Award, but he also went on and did stuff like The Golden Compass, and he did New Moon as well. So he's been involved in those movies too.
Okay.
He did co-write Rogue One, which is
wow,
which is so it's all over the map.
Very eclectic. I love Rogue One. I haven't seen it since it came out, but I have fond memories of it.
I will say this though. I think how I felt about the trailer was very much peppered by their recent output. And that's how I was kind of thinking about it. So I was thinking of Night Swim and I was thinking of Imaginary, Jackson tried to tell me to avoid Night Swim and I threw it on. I was like, I just got to watch something before I go to bed. And it was short. It'll be short and sweet, at least kind of entertaining. And it was just short and sweet and bad.
Short, sweet, and bad. Yeah.
Bad, yeah. And then Imaginary, I told you I saw that and that was not great either. So
did you not think of Megan while you were watching this? I felt like it was a complete cash in on Megan's success.
Yeah, and Blumhouse released Megan, which I thought was good, but
right. I haven't seen yet, but I'm
but it did feel like that kind of movie.
Yes,
and it's also being released on August 30th, so that's it feels like they're just plopping it down at the last minute. I think I probably took most of your words away from how you could feel about the movie, but was there anything in the trailer that you were like, that looks interesting, or you're just kind of no?
There's good moments in the trailer. I think mostly dialogue, where the AI kind of refers to itself as a second mother, and Catherine Waterston's reaction to that is pretty cool. I think there's going to be some good motherly competition in there. Again, it suffers from showing too much of the film. Not that I don't think anybody could guess exactly where this movie's headed from the first 30 seconds. Yeah, I didn't have much else to say. You took the words out of my mouth, which I'm grateful for. But if anything, not really trailer related, but the name of this movie, you could tell that they needed to think of something that would invoke horror that had the letters AI next to each other. And the best thing they could come up with was Afraid. I'm a lame, poor effort to title your movie, which, isn't, the end all be all. But I was just come on, did you really need to have? Was that so important in the marketing that you had to have AI in different colors somewhere in the word? And that's the best thing. I don't know.
Another on the nose. Because the poster is just this little thing in the box, and it says, I guess it's Aya. I guess that's the name of it. And it says on the box, she's here to help. And of course, the title card, Afraid, is spelled in all black except for the two AIs that are next to each other, are in red. So that's what you should be afraid of. There was kind of one darkly funny moment in the trailer where it seems like there's a boyfriend of a girl in high school that maybe leaks a picture of her on the internet, a sexual picture of her on the internet, and the smart home device looks like it murders the boyfriend, which I thought was kind of like, in defense of her, which also made it felt very much like Megan, because like the whole thing with Megan, the toy was like, protecting Violet at all costs, because that was what she was programmed to do, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's gonna be PG-13 probably. It's probably gonna have it's gonna get reviewed poorly. I imagine the review embargo, like I said, will be up a day before it comes out.
It's 2 hours long. I'm just seeing, why is it not an hour 30?
I didn't even know that. Jesus.
Yeah, according to IMDb, 2 hours 3 minutes. Oh boy, yeah, not much to look forward to there, I don't think. But I mean, I feel like there was some similar sentiments to Megan when that came out in January last year, so could be a pleasant Blumhouse surprise, as they're known to drop every so often. Not where I'd place my bets though, if it came down to that. But
I also just saw this was supposed to come out August 25th of last year. So there's that. So there's that too.
Nice.
I mean, they were either they were holding on to it because it was so good, or or they were just
very optimistic.
Yeah, probably not so much.
I will admit though, if there's anything good to say about this, it's the cast is looking pretty good. I mean, the top cast, who we don't even see in the trailer, I don't think, are David Dasmalchian, who's coming off the success of Late Night with the Devil. Keith Carradine up there too. I don't think I saw either. I know I didn't see David Dasmalchian in that trailer, but Keith Carradine.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
And then rounding that out is Catherine Waterston and John Cho are the names that I recognize. Anyhow, but that's a pretty good pairing of those four right there alone.
Well, they managed to get Carrie Condon for Night Swim after an Oscar. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah. That is unfortunate.
All right, we got a few movie news things to tell you. Something for the ladies, and so I actually like this movie. I'm just saying.
I've never seen. I know what you're about to say, but I've never seen.
Oh, you never seen this movie?
No.
It's actually really good. It's like Meryl Streep. You should see it for Meryl Streep alone. If you're going to see The Devil Wears Prada. She is great. I'm surprised you haven't seen it, or a girl never made you watch
it. Fair enough. I know my mom, I think, has talked about it before, and I'll be interested to mention this when I see her next.
But there is a sequel to The Devil Wears Prada in the works. Elaine Brosh McKenna, who wrote the first movie, is in early development on a sequel that includes Meryl Streep and Emily Blunt's characters for sure. It's up in the air whether or not Anne Hathaway will come back. I mean, the way that movie concludes, Anne Hathaway could probably not be in it. Like, it's her journey is kind of complete by the end of the movie. There is room for maybe there's like maybe room for like Meryl Streep and Emily Blunt to continue. And I heard part of the plot,
in the OG.
Yeah. So this was like one of her breakout roles. Yeah, she plays her Meryl Streep's assistant Emily. And if you've seen the movie, that's what a lot of people like will say that name like in a very like condescending tone, like Emily, like that kind of like get over here, I need you. And the sequel is supposed to kind of like, I guess, dabble into the fact that her Meryl Streep's character Brandon Priestley, he was kind of like this, like ran this like big fashion magazine at a time, and when that first movie came out, magazines were all the rage, and now with the time frame of the sequel, it would kind of show someone that was trying to compete in a fashion space where magazines don't really sell as well as they used to, and now that profession has moved online elsewhere, and her trying to be more old school and adjusting to those things. Meryl Streep apparently during the first one was in character for most of the movie. And Anne Hathaway has famously talked about how she didn't really get to meet Meryl Streep until they were done filming that, because her character Miranda is very mean, not the nicest lady in the world.
Right. That much I've gathered.
But if you're wondering why you're getting a sequel, the first one made $326 million worldwide when it came out in 2006. Meryl Streep was also nominated for an Academy Award for her role in the movie. It's still incredibly popular today. And the first movie was based on a 2003 novel of the same name, and it followed Andy Sachs, Hathaway, a recent journalism graduate who moves to New York City and lands a job as a junior assistant to Miranda Priestley, the powerful and demanding editor-in-chief of a high fashion magazine. And it kind of basically how she struggles with like her, old life and regular life and trying to adapt to being the, attached to that new world of New York high fashion. It's funny and well done. I didn't think a sequel was necessary or even in the cards. So but people seem genuinely excited about it if they can get all three back. I mean, I guess if you get 2 of the 3 back, that's good. But I think the ideal thing would be to get all 3 principal ladies back for that.
Yeah, that would be ambitious. The only connection and what I always think about when I hear about the Devil Wears Prada, and I hope that you can back me up here because I can't remember what movie it is. I think it's 22 Jump Street, where Jonah Hill in whatever movie, he's talking to some girl, and I think they might be doing like a guess the movie from the drawing, if I'm remembering correctly, or he's talking about somebody who hasn't seen it. He goes, "Oh, you've never seen Devil Wears Prada? The D Wears P?"
What is
it?
I think that I've got. I'm trying to picture the whole joke, and I think that is what they're talking about.
Yeah,
I forgot what you said.
I just don't know what movie it's from. I think it's 22 Jump Street.
I think it is 22.
Because I just saw 21 not long ago, and it wasn't in there. I was waiting for that scene. But anyway, that's like my only connection. I always find that line hilarious. But yeah. That's what I think about when I feel of Devil Wears Prada. But yeah, if that ends up coming, I will actually. Maybe she'll inspire me to watch it.
It's pretty good. All right, what do we got up next?
Exciting news for horror fans, particularly those fans of the Conjuring universe. Well, kind of sad news, if depending on how you look at it. I guess the final film has a release date for next year, 2025. Is it the Conjuring 4? Last rites?
Yeah, it's the 4th one.
4th in the main series, anyway.
Dated for September 5th, 2025. Nothing like completely revealed about the plot yet. But Michael Chavez, who directed the Conjuring Devil Made Me Do It, is directing this one as well.
Okay.
So at least they're finishing with the same. At least with him. I mean, if James Wan's not going to do it, I mean, I guess that's one that's at least been in the universe for a bit. It is weird to say that's the last one. I guess I could have kept it going, but I wonder if I know they had pitched like a show too, like an HBO. It was originally an HBO Max series they were going to do. I don't know if that's still happening. So they could actually do more stories, but I'm wondering if they locked in a 4th film because they kind of want to be like, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson are movie stars, and they probably want to do other stuff. And I wonder if that was like a condition to get them back. It was like, all right, we'll make this like the last one.
Perhaps.
All of them have been good though. I mean, even The Devil Made Me Do It, I thought was pretty good, even though it was a little bit different from the other 2. I still enjoyed it.
I've only seen it the once. I kind of thinking about it now. I find it kind of forgettable, but I need to see it. I've seen 1 and 2 both several times. And the first Conjuring is one of my favorite horror movies. Although I've kind of worn myself out by it. I'm not going to lie. Number 2, I'm due for a rewatch of, but 3, I would watch again. Maybe try to get it in during spooky season. But what I find interesting about this, and I've always loved the dynamic of Ed and Lorraine Warren and drawing on their actual case files to make movies out of, was always a great idea for a movie universe. But just on the cast list right here, Vera Farmiga's sister, Tessa Farmiga, who's in the series from the Nun movies, is cast in this movie. So somewhere those plots are going to align.
Where those worlds collide.
Yeah, I guess so. That's quite interesting because I know there's quite the not so much actually of a time gap between them. A little bit, a few.
Well, it's like decades. I always wonder, like, if you're gonna cast her, I was like, you have to make that has to be
eventually that was going somewhere.
Are you think the audience supposed to be like, oh, they don't look alike? I don't know. I think they have to do it eventually. Yeah. But over the last decade, since the release of The Conjuring, there have been sequels, spin-offs, and prequels that include The Conjuring 2, The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It, The Annabelle and its sequels, The Nun and its sequel, and The Curse of La Llorona, depending on who you ask. Some people say it's not, and some people say it's out.
The only one I haven't seen.
Yeah, and but collectively, that whole universe has made $2 billion worldwide. I think it'll still keep going. It'll still keep going with like the other movies, I think.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but hopefully they finish strong. I actually do like all of them, and of the 3, that 3rd one is probably one I need to watch again. But from what I remember, I remember enjoying it for the most part. And I guess in happier or more family friendly movie dating news, we're getting a 5th Shrek movie with everyone returning: Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz. It's going to hit screens on July 1st, 2026. Eddie Murphy was actually let this kind of drop early when he was promoting Beverly Hills Cop. Axel Foley, he said, "We started doing Shrek 4 or 5 months ago. I recorded the first act and we'll be doing it this year. and finishing it up. He also said that he's doing a spin-off Donkey movie as well. So
I can't believe that has not happened a decade ago.
Yeah, I felt like he should have got. I mean, not should have, but like I thought he would have gotten the spin-off movie over Puss in Boots. Yeah, and then Puss in Boots did first. I mean, another big franchise too. This was the first Shrek movie, made $488 million worldwide. It was the first animated movie to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars when they first created that award. And across all 4 Shrek films, they have made $2.9 billion worldwide, and also include the Puss in Boots film from 2011 and the last Puss in Boots movie, which made $481 million worldwide. So another lucrative franchise that could keep going and going, I guess, if they wanted to.
Yeah, sadly, I'm not familiar with the Shrek series much beyond the first one. I think I might have seen the second or third when I was a young lad, but I don't recall anything. I have no idea where that series has gone. Like story wise, I don't know what fans are, if they're clamoring for a 5th, if there is even story left to explore. I really don't have much of an opinion on this. I did see that it was greenlit on social media like the day I think it was announced, but the first one is an absolute classic. Oddly enough, had not seen any Shrek related material in like years, but my girlfriend had it on in the background one day fairly recently when I was over there, and I was like quite invested. I was like, I have not seen this in forever, so I got a pretty good amount of the movie in, so it was kind of nice to revisit. That was such a huge movie in my childhood, like all around. Shrek was awesome, but a 5th one, I kind of this falls into line to me with like the reception of Toy Story 5, and like there was a great trilogy that was kind of,
and they got lucky with 4 being okay,
but like not as great as the first 3. And how far are they going to take this? I thought, and will it be Pixar? I'm guessing.
No, DreamWorks. DreamWorks does the Shrek movies.
Right.
So like,
how dare I?
So like I
didn't
love
say
the
that.
first movie. I remember seeing the first one in theaters. I actually really do love it, and I saw the second one in theaters too. But to be honest with you, I don't really remember the third or fourth one. I saw it, but I'm not saying that's a testament of like their quality. It just kids.
You've seen a lot of movies over the years,
but also children movies. Like depending on when I saw them, like they can be easily erased from the mind. Like I saw Frozen once, and I don't remember a lick of Frozen because I saw it once. I was like,
talk about a phenomenon. Like, oh my god,
yeah, wasn't the movie I was invested in, so that's why didn't really stick with me. But July 1st, 2026. If you guys are interested in more Shrek, this next bit of news, I totally understood why it happened, but I think I was more sad for Kevin Costner, and I was also sad for movies that are geared towards adults at the multiplex. But also, this should be a lesson: don't plan trilogies to your movies until you figure out
or quadrilogies. This was the first of 4. Yes, I'm split on this news. I'm with you where like this isn't great for movies. Certainly not for Kevin Costner's career. With the tanking of Horizon, the American Saga or whatever, chapter 1 in theaters. So I guess it was only in August that chapter 2 was slated to come out, and that's since been pulled from the release schedule, which is again not great for him, who's pretty much abandoned his biggest career endeavor with Yellowstone to do these, and then for the first one not to end up being worthwhile effort is kind of, I think he shot himself in the foot by making a 3-hour epic. I think maybe if the first one was more moderately paced and then you could build upon that would be better. But the other part of me, the devil on my shoulder, is kind of gleeful about this because, again, I've been criticizing this green lighting of multiple movies in advance before we even get one. And I'd like to see this trend die quickly. So it feels like this is a nail in that trend's coffin, but who knows? I'm sure we'll see more of this, but I'm kind of glad that that's not taking steam. So
it was supposed to come out on August 16th. I kind of got the feeling that this was going to happen because Westerns are a tough sell. They're very tough sell. I didn't know this was 3 hours until a week after it opened. Because someone told me they saw it and they didn't know it was going to be 3 hours. and they found out while they were sitting in the theater. They're like, "This isn't over yet."
Ooh, yikes!
And so that's a lot. That's an investment. And I think what's especially interesting is that they say apparently there are no plans to send Chapter 2 to the Max streaming service. Warner Brothers was hoping, given the movie's 50 plus leading audience and their slow nature to come to cinemas, they could give them time to find Chapter 1 gradually. The first movie opened to $11 million and has made about $27 million since opening. Apparently across all the movies, the budget was $100 million.
Between all four, have they shot all four?
But they haven't. I don't know how this has gone down yet.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But I know that there's also marketing spend on this too, and they if you've only made $27 million off, and by the way, westerns are a tough sell internationally, so I don't think that that's a very American niche part of cinema. So it wouldn't really have like a big international footprint to kind of bail it out that way.
True.
I think maybe they'll see. I know it's coming out on video on demand and stuff soon, so maybe they'll see how it does there. And maybe I don't see that problem with like throwing on the streaming service. I know Kevin Costner also put up a lot of his own money for this, so that's another reason why I feel bad.
Yeah,
for him.
You just did mention something that's got me excited that it had an August 16th release date, which means Alien Romulus is no longer competing. Yeah, let's go. That's awesome. I cannot wait. I want that movie to do everything.
Out of the way of it. Yeah, you're right. Out of the way, Alien Romulus. So I think that will probably rule that weekend entirely.
Awesome.
And continue a really good year so far. I mean, I know the year for horror didn't look that great in the beginning, but it's kind of like turning itself around a bit. I mean, we started with Night Swim, and now we've gotten like
we got Violent Nature since then.
Yeah, we got
Longlegs.
Longlegs. You got A Quiet Place Day One. A lot of people enjoy that so far too. And like Cuckoo's coming out, another neon horror movie.
They showed the trailer of that.
For that,
awesome.
Looks good. So, so I'm glad Alien is by itself. Sorry for Kevin Costner, but I think eventually it might end up on the streaming service. I doubt they would like tax write-off dump it. I assumed all three were shot. I don't know how this. I didn't look too much into the making of the movie, but I did feel kind of bad that happened to him. That's unfortunate because he was now promoting it a lot too. That was another thing I saw. Just
play your cards smarter too, though. Like he should know better than to think that everyone in the world is going to be on board with his 12-hour American Saga across 4 movies. Like this is very much. It feels like a. I don't mean this in as much of a negative way as it probably sounds, but it does feel like a huge Kevin Costner vanity project.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's how that goes. I'm not surprised. Yeah.
And this last bit of news, since we've been reporting it, I'm not going to go too much into details because they've been going back and forth about the merger.
Yeah. Egg on our face.
But here, guys, finally, Paramount agreed to merge with Skydance, ending months-long negotiations. Paramount Special Committee signed off on the merger. This was, I think, would be like a week or some change ago. Days after Sherry Weinstein's National Amusements, the controlling shareholder of Paramount, once again reached a preliminary agreement with Skydance, the production company known for Top Gun Maverick. A similar deal had weeks earlier been stopped in its tracks. The latest iteration of the deal will see the buying consortium, which includes private equity firms Redbird Capital Partners and KKR, invest more than $8 billion into Paramount and to acquire National Amusements. The deal gives National Amusements an enterprise value of $2.4 billion, which includes $1.75 billion in equity as well. Scott Derrickson, who did Black Phone and Sinister and a few other movies, he's worked with both studios, and he said that we should be okay with this because he said, if anything, that working with Paramount and Skydance, that they both love film, they both love filmmakers. So maybe this merger won't be as like negative as some people think it will be.
That's something.
But of course, other people have wrote about it and said that the Paramount merger is a profound loss. So there's the
I guess I would trust the opinion of someone working in the industry that has experience with both studios. That kind of makes me feel a little bit better about it, but I'm under no illusion that this is like going to be great long-term for film diversity. So
yeah, some people think there'll be less artistic freedom with the merger. Like there's a lot, there's a little like another, nuts and bolts to all this that people are worried about. But I did see that tweet for him, having worked with both entities kind of made me feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah, I agree.
but we kept going back and forth of like it was happening and then it died.
Yeah, I thought we were done. I thought once that died, then that was the end of the road. I obviously have no idea how the mergers between multi-billion-dollar movie studios work, but that was I thought I definitely thought that was behind us. So to hear that successful merger was quite a shock. So well, now everyone knows. I guess that's probably the last. Now, probably the last of it. I mean, unless anything else drastic happens. But
unless there's some like crooked stuff with the deal, like whatever. Like hopefully this is the last time we'll talk about it. Other than like what projects.
I wonder if we'll even really see how that probably not. But yeah. Well, there you go.
This last bit of news, I guess, is a little sad note. We're not going to end on this because we have box office, but I wanted to bring it up. Shannen Doherty, who a lot of people may know from Beverly Hills 90210, Charmed. She's Heather Duke in Heathers. She passed away after a very long battle with breast cancer on Sunday. She was 53 years old. She first went public with her diagnosis in 2015, and then they went into remission for a couple of years, and then came back, stage 4, spread to her bones, and she, despite that, she was heavy into the convention circuit. She was always going to talk about Charmed and Heathers and 90210. She also started her own podcast called Let's Be Clear, which had a lot of guests on that talked about the old projects that she was attached to, and also talked about her cancer journey as well. She started that in November 2023. The last episode actually went up on Monday, July 8th, when she had announced joining a Charmed rewatch podcast with some of her co-stars from that show. Apparently, she had completed 4 of those episodes already, and one of the guys, I think his name is Brian Krause, who was on Charmed, he said that they are going to release those episodes and continue to rewatch podcasts because they think that's what she would want. And I know one of those episodes came out today, and there'll be 3 more episodes that fans can hear her on. I know this is more of a thing for my generation than yours. I mean, you watched Heathers, and I think we talked about her in that too. Yep. Daniel Waters actually he had a drawing of her from the movie and said some really nice things about it. And I think we mentioned it when we talked about Heathers, that Shannen Doherty didn't know that it was a comedy, right? Well, when they were making it. Yeah. And he actually referenced that in his tribute to her. And I think there was like a no hard feelings thing between the two of them where he could joke about that. Right. And, of course, she was young when she made the movie, and like things change when you get older.
Exactly.
I thought that was really cool. And, we talked about that movie, but like, I watched it 90210 when I was younger. I was probably too young to watch it because it came out in the early 90s. But she was on that show for 4 seasons. She played Brenda Walsh on that show. She left the show at the time in a very, there were a lot of rumors and speculation when she left. Like, was she getting along with her co-stars? Did she get fired? There was like that kind of thing that was going on at that time. And then she did Charmed, which is another Aaron Spelling show. He created 90210 as well. He created Charmed. She was on that for 3 seasons and left in a similar fashion where it creative differences. Did she get along? And her and Alyssa Milano, who was also on the show, famously didn't get along, and they still didn't. Alyssa Milano still wrote something very nice about her after she passed away. I think Alyssa Milano would have been in a damned if I do, damned if I don't situation if she didn't say anything. But I thought what was cool about Shannen Doherty in the later part of her life, she got to really clean up that narrative about how she exited both shows, and fans of those shows got to see like, oh, okay, it wasn't as like one-sided as it was originally reported. And she got to build a different connection with those fans who then kind of got to see like her speak her truth. And also, like, I think detailing your cancer journey for the public to see is probably not easy, but she thought it was necessary so other people can learn from it. And it's crazy though, from the I guess that's how crazy cancer can be, and like also dealing with chemo to treat it and all that. A lot of people said it seemed like she was fine, relatively, as could be fine, with stage 4 breast cancer. And like, I know a lot of her friends are saying it's hard to say that it came out of nowhere because she did have a disease like that, but it seemed like she was doing okay. So I guess that's how unpredictable that disease is. But
definitely,
we kind of talk about people that leave their mark in pop culture, and then Heathers, 90210, Charmed, for those people that did love those. Charmed has a ridiculously, like, one of the biggest stories I ever wrote for MovieWeb is detailing all the drama that went on behind the scenes of Charmed.
Okay.
And Charmed was a huge show, and then it continues to be a huge show for genre fans. And it kind of came out during that same period of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all that. So yeah, she got to leave her mark on in pop culture. She has like one of the best lines in Heather too. Like breaking out. Is it something like? Is it Veronica get off of my dick? It's something along those lines.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it's like a really ace line delivery. I can't. Yeah. That's why I can't believe she didn't know it was.
Is Heather Duke the one that Winona Ryder says "lick it up, baby" too?
No, she's brunette and
okay. I'm struggling to remember which one was Heather Duke.
But she pretty good in that movie. Like I said, I can't believe she didn't know it was a comedy. I still think that's hilarious.
I remember we chatted about that when we were covering the anniversary episode.
Yeah.
I think that how funny that would have been to find out and to read that script and think you're getting into like a dark, messed up drama, and for it to be, kind of flipped on its head would have been quite the revelation, especially at her age.
Yeah. But yeah, she fought really hard all the way to the end. So I think that's oh, there you go. Here's a line. Veronica, why are you pulling my dick? Which she actually does say very, very well in the film. Her Heather's co-star, one of them, actually, which was kind of sad reading it. It's I think her name is Lisa Ann. She is the only Heather that is still alive. The main girl died a long time ago.
Oh, right, yes.
And so she actually
Kim Walker.
She wrote, she wrote a very I thought very nice tribute, because she honestly said she was like, I don't think we were really friends, and we didn't see each other since the movie actually came out, but she felt the need to she stumbled upon her podcast a year ago and got a new kind of like interpretation of her. So that's why she wrote this really kind of lengthy, very nice thing about her. I thought that was really cool too. And she was very honest about it. She's like, we weren't best friends. Yeah, we had to see each other in years, but I felt the need to kind of express what I thought she meant to her fan base and everyone. So I thought it was very nice. It's cool. If you can leave your mark, that's all you can really kind of hope
exactly for. You're immortalized by your work, which is one of the best things about this industry. Yeah. So rest in peace, Shannen Doherty. I wish I knew her career a little bit better, but Charmed has been on my radar a little bit, and I do remember her performance in Heathers too. I'm glad that I've actually know her from something, so that's something for me. But yeah,
man. Back in the day, now 2-0, Brenda and Kelly, like they were both going after Dylan. Oh, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing.
That'll be another thing I can tell them all about, probably.
And it didn't help the rivalry matters, because like Shannen Doherty is brunette and Kelly was blonde, so you have to like you have to pick a side.
There's that age-old debate.
Yeah. I'll to be alive in the early 90s, man.
Yeah.
All right, we're here at box office. We already talked about how Longlegs did, very successful. We did predict Maxine the last time we were on. $6.7 million opening weekend. I was off. I think I said 11.5 for my.
Oh boy, I don't even remember that. Oh yeah, you did 11.5, and I went with 10.
So you win that one by default.
Disappointing that we're so far off, but I think you mentioned that relative to the budget, it wasn't as much of a failure.
No, not at all. And I think reviews for it were mixed from people that saw it that really loved.
I think buddies. I saw their Letterboxd scores, and they were lower than I would have thought, knowing that they were big fans of X and Pearl. Yeah, I mentioned to you this one hasn't premiered at my local theater yet, so I'm not sure when I'm going to get the chance to see it. But it's been on my radar for a long time, and waiting for this since I had originally thought it was coming out much sooner. So might have to make the travel to go see it, but I am excited to see Maxine for myself before eventually everything's spoiled for me online. But
I know. And full disclosure, it came out on July 5th. It was a busy July 4th weekend, so I did not see it over that weekend. And then my attention shifted to Longlegs, so I will see it.
Maybe we'll be chatting about that here in a week or so.
Yeah, I'll figure out when to see Maxine soon. I was so excited for it too. And then I will say people I trusted that loved those first two movies gave it either like lukewarm or kind of like in the middle responses, and I was surprised by that a little bit. But it looks like the summer season is going to continue to keep going strong after a few successful weeks at the box office for several movies. We got Twisters coming out, the legacy sequel to Twister. The original starred Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt as storm chasers. This one has is it Daisy Edgar Riley and Glenn Powell, who is in everything now. The movie star du jour, as they say. The original movie, for context, opened in 1996 to $41 million, which is pretty good for when it came out. Ended up making $241.8 million domestic and $494.5 million worldwide on a $92 million budget. It was revolutionary at the time that it came out for special effects. And I think this movie, along with Independence Day, I think kind of restarted the whole disaster film thing in the late 90s. And after this, we got like Dante's Peak and Volcano and Deep Impact and Armageddon and The Day After Tomorrow.
I think you're right about that.
But Twister is fun. I'm actually going to watch my 4K of it before I see the new one, because I actually haven't watched Twister in a really long time, and I heard the transfer is really good.
I recently saw it for the first time in anticipation for the sequel. So regardless of how it's received,
I saw your letterbox thing. Did you like it?
I did. I actually thought it was quite the fun little 90s action flick. It did. I do think it is summarized, but mainly as a disaster movie where everyone is just screaming "run" at each other 100 times. Yeah. More to be said about that, but I thought it was really fun. The effects for the time definitely were quite impressive. Things still hold up. I was surprised that it was produced by Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment, which was
I think at one point he wanted to direct it at one point, and then handed that over to John DeMont, who actually did Speed, which is like Speed and Twister, being like he that guy knew how to cook as well.
Absolutely.
with action movies.
Bill Paxton, what's not to love, right? He was great.
Amazing. And I hear his son has a cameo in this new one, which I thought was pretty cool that they did that as well. God, my mom, the first time she saw Twister, it was like she was like, "There's not a black person in sight in this movie," and that's fair. And that's because like none of us would be chasing tornadoes, which is true. Actually pretty true. It's very specific. Like, there's nothing there. I don't believe in running towards danger. I don't even care. Like, but I guess that's what they love to do. And
I guess so.
Whatever.
White people, man. Last thing of note too, I almost forgot, but seeing it on the IMDb profile too. But writing credit to Michael Crichton, who did the Jurassic Park movie. So he also wrote Twister, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool as well. So the reviews for this are so far pretty good. I think it's 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. They say it's a nice throwback to summer movies of the past.
That's all I really want out of this movie. I'm not looking for the wheel to be remade.
I do not need it to reinvent anything. Just be exactly what I think it's going to be.
Yes.
Predictions are high end 54 million. Low end, my bad. Low end 54 million, and the high is 60. High is 60 right now.
Okay.
This also opens a week before Deadpool and Wolverine, which is probably smart.
Definitely wouldn't want to be competing with that.
I kind of think people are in the mood for like old school summer movie blockbuster entertainment.
I'm inclined to agree.
Part of me wants to go higher than the high end, which I might be ballsy, but
I think
slightly higher.
Similarly to the Afraid movie, I feel like Twisters is kind of timely in the sense, like, how like climate change is all the rage, and you can't turn on anything without discussing some sort of disaster, and tornadoes being a big part, especially in the United States, which seems to be like almost uniquely affected by them. So I think this is it's kind of a topical movie to bring back for movie going audiences. So I feel like that might play into this movie's favor too.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go above the high. I'm gonna go 65. Not too high, but like I'm going 65.
65. I like it. I'll go. I love your enthusiasm. But just to make things interesting, I'll go at 60, which is right on the money for the high end. My predictions. So we got a $5 million gap. I think that's good to play with. I hope this movie does great. I want to see it. It's not like I'm so hit or miss. I'm kind of a hypocrite because like I always shit on legacy sequels and how devoid of creativity I find studios are for kind of diverting back to old properties. But every once in a while, one comes along that I think works. And this is just kind of one that I've been enjoying the hype and the trailers for. I think Glenn Powell is, a great force in Hollywood now. I don't know much about Daisy Edgar Jones, but
she was in that Crawdad. What was that?
Where the Crawdads sing?
Yeah.
Another Colleen Hoover adaptation, I believe.
Yeah. I didn't see it. But made money.
Yeah, no, I think she's kind of an up and comer. Like I know she's been in some stuff that I've like heard of, but just haven't seen. But I'm interested to see her turn as a leading lady. And I just don't remember the last time we had like a really good grounded disaster porn movie. So I think this could be interesting, and I want it to do well.
And I think this, if this does open as well as we think, this probably will like clearly solidify Glenn Powell's status as probably one of the most bankable movie stars working right now.
Kind of a modern day movie star in the vein of like, he's getting a lot
of Tom Cruise comparisons. There's a lot of those, and that's a tough fact. Someone said that he's more of a Kevin Costner in terms of his acting style, and I was like,
okay,
I think more Tom Cruise-ish. I get that vibe more than Kevin Costner, but I think it's like this will be a test of his bankability, though.
Yeah,
for sure,
absolutely. The guy is riding a high, though.
Yeah, I do hope it does well. So there we have it.
All right,
we got 65 and 60. And before we wrap up, I'm just going to let you guys know that we do have July anniversaries on deck for, like we said, The Blair Witch Project, American Pie, Eyes Wide Shut, not in this order necessarily.
Yeah.
And then your listeners pick. I know our last episode, Drop Dead Gorgeous, was in the lead, and then Jackson rigged the votes, and then True Lies won.
Thank you, everyone.
True Lies won. Honestly, True Lies will be a fun one to do, because you said you've never seen it, right?
I've never seen it, no.
Oh, yeah. I haven't watched it in a really long time.
And I really want to watch a James Cameron movie that's not Avatar.
I used to love it growing up, so it'll be a fun one to revisit. So good job on the listeners' picks for July.
They haven't let us down, have they?
Not yet. And some of these are going to have, actually 3 of them right now for sure that we know of are going to have guests on for all of them except for Eyes Wide Shut.
Okay.
So even some of the people that are like be on the show we're like, oh, I want to be on some of these episodes. So that's we got a good little slate.
I'm really excited for this month's anniversaries for sure. Really excited. I don't know what like you said, don't know what we're covering first, but when we get to them, excited to also have some guests on and chat these movies, most of which I haven't seen. I've seen American Pie now. I've already watched that in anticipation for the episode. Eyes Wide Shut, a Kubrick movie, one of the last ones I haven't seen by him. I'm really excited to get that watch in. And then True Lies, of course, too. Like Blair Witch will be a familiar favorite, but lots to look forward to for the July releases too. So thank you guys for your participation in voting on that.
As much as we talk about movies, but Jackson and I that was the first time I heard him say like I watched American Pie in anticipation for the episode. Like I didn't even know that he watched it already. So it's funny. Like it's funny like what movies we talk about and what movie news we talk about offline, but then it's the stuff that we do for the show is like won't even mention it until we have to record this, which I guess is the best way to.
100%. Like with our conversation with Longlegs, I didn't even want to hear your thoughts until we spoke about it here because that's like half the anticipation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, lots coming down the pipeline.
And that director showcase, I guess too.
That's coming up at the end of the month. We got Ben Affleck's filmography to dive into. Very excited for that. I'm gonna have a busy watch schedule over the next couple weeks.
You guys like the last one a lot, so hopefully you'll like this one. And I guess that puts pressure on you to think about before that episode, like if you want to reveal in that episode, like who you would want to do next for yours.
Truthfully, I haven't done any. I think Oz Perkins would be actually a fantastic pick now that we are thinking about it, but I'm going to chew on a couple others. Actually, Cam gave me some suggestions that I got to pick his brain about too last time when I mentioned him about this new segment that we were doing, and he did name drop a couple. I was like, holy shit, why didn't I think of those people? So I'll get back to that probably closer when we get to filming our next one. And I'm probably going to have buyer's remorse or choice remorse, but
you know, always circle back to other ones. I mean, I think we'll
there's a few of these, lots of time. Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Glad you mentioned that. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. For those of you here, thanks a lot. This has been everything for episode 184 of Back to the Blockbuster. Thanks for tuning in. We've, as Gaius mentioned, got a pretty busy slate for the last half of July for you guys. Lots of anniversary episodes coming out towards the end of the month. So thanks for listening to our news segment today. Hopefully you guys are all caught up in what's been going on in Hollywood over the last couple of weeks. You guys can listen to Back to the Blockbuster anywhere you guys listen to your podcast, or if you're into YouTube, you guys can check us out over there as more and more episodes of the show are uploaded there every week. Only 16 short episodes away from our 200th anniversary, so stay tuned to our socials. Again, anywhere you guys are active on social media, you guys can interact interact with us there, as we will have some suggestions for what you guys want to see for our second 100th episode coming up, probably by the end of the summer based on our schedule. But thanks, guys, again for your loyalty coming back to the show every week. We couldn't do it without you, and excited to announce some exciting stuff for the show going forward. But until then, Gaius, it's been a pleasure chatting Hollywood news with you, and I will see you on episode 185 later in the week.